Hi everyone, welcome back to Project Off the Shelf, our super low buck Geo Metro, putting her back on the road, see how fast and how little we can spend to do it. As you can see, the front suspension is now together, and in spite of spending virtually no money and just reconditioning what was there, it looks pretty good. The engine bay, of course, except for the battery, is complete. And the big deal for me over the last couple of days, among other than the front suspension, has been exhaust. And we finished that off this morning finally. It was a chore and a half. Anytime you're dealing with exhaust, it's a pain. And trying to do it with stuff off the shelf, other than a couple pieces, is a pain in the butt. So we now have the full exhaust in place, and all the joints are welded except where you can see the two clamps. It's about the stock height, which is a good thing considering where I live. And it's secure, it's seamless, no problems to be had. And even out back, it ends in a shiny little tip that happened to be floating about. And again, everything is pretty much nailed into place. We had to buy a couple of short pieces of tubing, one a 90 degree, one an extension. Other than that, we reused all the same clamps. While I had the whole thing up, we welded it, give me some practice, and got it all into pretty good shape. So the next step is rear brakes and suspension cleanup and check everything, which we're about to get into. So what we'll be doing is cleaning everything in here, taking the brake drum off, checking the brake shoes, checking all of that stuff, tidying it all up, making sure the suspension's in good shape, cleaning it all up, and giving it a touch of paint and any repairs that it requires. So we'll be back with you in a little while as we make some progress, and you take care. Okay, we're well into it now, and we've removed the rear drums. And to remove the rear drums, you have to remove that locking nut, then a washer, and then carefully work the drum and the hub off. Now in our case we used a couple of screwdrivers because they've been sitting a long time. And you work it back and forth and wiggle and hold your tongue in the right place, and eventually it comes off. The brakes themselves, other than being filthy, look okay, so we're going to go through and clean it up. The other side looks virtually the same. So we're in pretty good shape here so far. We'll see what surprises come our way. Okay. While we're waiting for the rear brake parts to dry, we've cleaned them up with solvent, we've been through them, we've measured them, we've looked at them. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at them. This one's got the most light on it. I want to start digging into what needs done with body structure. Now this is, as we mentioned, a very low buck project because I need a driver. See, all cleaned up everything else. Given it a quick lap of paint, sanded the shoes, we've cleaned out the drums, wire brushed the inside of them with wire wheels, made sure everything is clean, neat, and give them a quick sand just to make sure everything's just right so it's ready to go back together. But while we're waiting, as I said, let's take a look at what we do about checking body structure. Now, the rad support was pretty self-evident. The holes were gaping and pretty obvious. So now we got to take a look at what we're going to do, or what we need to do on the rest of the body. Cosmetics will come later. This is structure. Now what kind of tool do you use? My favorite is an awl. A sharp awl, because it tells all. So I'll go to the car and using a fair amount of force, start hacking away anywhere I suspect that there might be rust. So as you can see, the structure's pretty good until we get here. And then, even here, there's previous repairs that were done by a boob that just bonded over everything. But the actual inner structure is pretty freaking solid. So that's a good thing. Then we get here and it's cosmetic, and you can see we have rust. Now we're going to do the same on the other side and see what we find. So, as you can see, most of the rockers and body structure are pretty good. But we have two problem areas. And one is here. Now this one is more preemptive. Somebody was in there and went crazy with Bondo, so we need to protect this. So even before I leave tonight, I'm going to give it a quick, man, it's solid there. Right about here. A quick wire brush, and then I'm going to hit it with rust converter to protect it. Now we'll figure out what to do to cover it. The bigger problem is the passenger side, which I guess anybody who knows cars, the passenger side gets all the muck and grime, so it tends to get the worst deal. But let's take a look. So, in exactly the same place as the other side, and as you can see, here we don't have any issues. Right up to here, it's good. Here, it starts to deteriorate. Here, it is structural, right through here. Okay? There's a hole, so that's body structure, and there's grief here. So we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do to repair that. Here back, just like the other side's fine. It's this pocket that's the problem. And just like the other side, we got some cosmetic stuff here. Cosmetics we're not going to worry about. We're going to worry about structure. So that'll be coming up right after we finish the brakes, get her fired up, and check things over. So tonight I'm going to put things back together on the rear end. We'll come back and have a chat with you after that's done. But everything's going more or less according to plan. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. So till we come back to show off the rear brakes, take care.